Okay, we are here with our... Hi, Luke.
Hi.
And we're going to talk about additive inverses. Inverse kind of means opposites. We know this must be something about adding an opposite here. And these are cool because it teaches us a little bit about how to work with negative numbers, okay? So first, let's look at additive inverses in the real world. We're just going to look first at bank accounts. So who has an overall balance of 0? Let's look at these different people. Cho has $540 in savings and no loans. Deshaun has $217 in loans. Simon has $425 in savings and $425 in loans. And Bodie has $800 in savings and $923 in loans. So who has an overall balance of 0?
Simon?
Yeah, Simon does, because if you owe somebody $425 and you also saved up $425, those kind of balance out, right?
Yeah.
Good. Okay, now let's look at atoms. You know, atoms that make up everything in the world are made of protons, electrons, and neutrons?
Yeah.
And protons have a charge of +1, and electrons have a charge of -1, okay? So let's ask ourselves, of these atoms down here, and it might be more than one of them, which atoms have a charge of 0? Okay, so atom A has 5 protons and 4 electrons, atom B has 9 and 9, atom C has 23 and 21, and atom D has 14 protons and 14 electrons. So which one or ones of these have a total charge of 0?
Atom D and atom B.
Good, so we'll circle both of those. Make sense?
Yeah.
Okay, now let's use this to figure out some rules about how to work with negative numbers, okay?
Okay.
So when you said atom D had a balance of 0, you might have said, well, it's 14 and 14, but one of the things you were doing is you're kind of adding the 14 positives here and the 14 negatives, right?
Yeah.
So let's go over here and let's write this in math terms. You added the 14 positives plus the 14 negatives, and that added up to what?
0.
0, right? So let's kind of like notice a few things here. First, -14 is the additive inverse of 14. It's kind of like the opposite. If you add them together, you get 0. Does that make sense? And we could say the opposite too. 14 is the additive inverse of -14, right?
Yeah.
Okay, good. So that's just for us to know. Now, let's go back to this statement right here and let's create a rule. See if this rule sounds right to you. Adding a negative number is just like subtracting a positive number. So when we say 14 plus -14, like we did up here, that's the same thing as 14 minus 14, and that equals 0. Does that sound true to you?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. And let's look at this on a number line, okay? So we're going to look at this number 3, and we're going to go both directions on the number line here, okay? So first we're going to say 3 plus 2 is 5, and then we're going to say the opposite is 3 minus 2 to get down to 1. Okay, that's kind of obvious, right?
Yeah.
Okay, but instead of using a positive number like 2 here, let's now rewrite this with negative numbers, okay? So we'll do the exact same thing. And for this direction, instead of 3 minus 2, we're going to write 3 plus a -2. And we already said that that's the same thing, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Now, so 3 plus -2 goes from 3 this direction. What would 3 minus -2 have to do then?
Go to 5.
Go up the other direction, right? To 5.
Yeah.
So here we can write 3 minus -2. That has to be true, right? Because it's the opposite thing.
Yeah.
Okay? So now we can write another rule, and I'm going to put this one all in bold because this one's important to remember. Subtracting a negative number, this is what we're doing right here, subtracting a negative is just like adding a positive number. Does that make sense to you?
Yeah.
Okay, good. That's really important to know. Okay, now let's just use this on the number line to find the difference. Oh, I'm sorry, we can do one more example down here. So if we had 14 minus a -14, it would be the same thing as 14 plus 14, because this minus a negative is the same as plus, and that would equal 28, right?
Yeah.
Okay, good. All right, so let's go up here, and let's look at a number line. Let's talk about differences on the number line. We want to find the difference between 4 and -3. So how would you do that?
You could count the spaces.
Sure, you could. You could go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, right? So
Yeah.
what's the answer? What's the distance between 4 and -3?
7.
7, okay? Now, sometimes you don't want to take the trouble to count, and you could easily make a mistake, right?
Yeah.
So let's just try something here. Let's say, what if we took the 4 and we subtracted the -3? Okay? Now, using the rule that we came up with down here, what would that be the same as? 4 minus a -3.
4 plus 3.
Good. So that's 4 plus 3. And what is that?
7.
Hey, so that came up with the right answer, right?
Yeah.
So maybe we can write a draft rule here. This might not be our final rule. The distance between 2 points on the number line is the difference of the points' values. So if you take the difference is one of them minus the other one, and that worked, right?
Yeah.
Okay. But let's take the other direction. Let's go take -3 and minus the 4 and see what happens there. So if we do -3 minus 4, so we start at -3 and we minus 4, going this direction, what are we going to get?
-7.
-7. So -3 minus 4 is -7. So is that the correct answer? Not quite, right?
No.
Because the distance should be 7, not -7. So what if we did this, though? Took the absolute value of it. Would
Yeah.
that make sense?
Yeah.
Okay, so let's rewrite our rule. We'll cross out our draft rule and rewrite another one. The distance between 2 points on the number line is the absolute value of the difference of the points' values. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Okay, so when you're finding distances, just take one number minus the other one. It can be either direction, and take the absolute value. You'll get your answer.
Okay.
Good job.